Welcome to Hidden Wonders. Please subscribe if you're new. Something the size of a school bus is falling through the dark. It's been falling for hours, past the last of the light, past the last of the warmth, into a place with more in common with another planet than with the world you know. And when it finally hits the bottom, it won't be an ending. It'll be a beginning. A single death is about to build a city, one that will feed thousands for decades and outlast almost everything you'll ever make. This is a whale fall, and only a tiny number of people have ever seen one firsthand. Start at the surface. A whale dies, old age, disease, a ship strike, and its body begins to sink. Not quickly. Tens of tons of animal, 40 in the case of a large grey whale, drifting down through a mile, 2 miles, sometimes 3 miles of water. It takes hours, and with every meter, the world changes. The light goes first. By around 1,000 meters, it's effectively pitch black. A darkness so total, your eyes are useless. Then the cold closes in until the water hovers just above freezing, and the pressure climbs until it's crushing down with the weight of the entire ocean overhead, hundreds of times the pressure at the surface. This is the deep sea, the largest living space on Earth and the least explored. In many places, we've mapped the surface of Mars in greater detail than the deep ocean floor. And down here, one problem rules everything: food. Almost nothing grows in the dark. Most life on the abyssal plain survives on scraps drifting from far above, a thin, endless snowfall of dead plankton and waste called marine snow. It's barely enough. The seafloor is a desert, and its creatures live on the edge of starvation. And then, out of that empty black, tens of tons of food fall out of the sky. The first scavengers can arrive within hours, following the scent through miles of water, and they arrive starving. Hagfish, eel-like, nearly blind, ancient. They pour in by the hundreds, boring headfirst into the carcass and eating it from the inside out. They absorb nutrients straight through their skin, and when a predator tries them, their slime can clog its gills and force it to retreat. To us, they're grotesque. Down here, they're first in line. Behind them, the heavyweights. Pacific sleeper sharks. Slow, cold, 4 meters long, tearing away mouthfuls of blubber. Rat tails circling for scraps, and swarming over everything, amphipods. Pale, shrimp-like scavengers in numbers beyond counting, stripping flesh grain by grain. Together, they're brutally efficient. Large scavengers can strip away tens of kilograms of flesh every single day. For months, sometimes years, the body is taken apart. Scientists call this the mobile scavenger stage, the loudest, most crowded moment this patch of sea floor will ever know. But eventually, the easy meat runs out. The crowds thin and the scavengers move on, and what they leave behind looks like the end of the story. It isn't. Because the scavengers left something behind. For months, scraps of flesh and oil have been soaking into the mud around the carcass, turning the surrounding seafloor into the richest ground for miles, and a second wave moves in to claim it. This is the enrichment opportunist stage. Thousands of small animals, worms, snails, clams, crustaceans, swarm the organically loaded sediment, packing in at densities you'd never find on the open plain. Some were already buried in the surrounding sediment, others drift in as larvae and settle. For months, sometimes years, they mine the leftovers the scavengers missed. The body is almost gone now. But the whale still isn't finished, because the real transformation is only beginning inside the bones themselves. When the flesh is gone, the skeleton remains, pale, enormous, resting in the mud. And this is where a whale fall becomes one of the strangest places on Earth. Meet Osedax, the bone-eating worm. In 2002, researchers exploring a whale carcass in Monterey Canyon, half a mile down, found a strange red-plumed worm science had never recorded. 2 years later, they formally named it Osedax, Latin for bone devourer. And it earns the name in the most unsettling way imaginable. Osedax has no mouth, no stomach, no gut at all. It cannot eat, not the way anything you know eats. Instead, it grows a network of green root-like tendrils that bore into solid bone, secreting acid to help dissolve it. Inside those roots live colonies of bacteria, and together, worm and microbe unlock the fats and proteins sealed inside the skeleton, feeding the worm from within. It devours a whale without ever taking a bite. Then it gets stranger. Every Osedax you can see is female. The males are microscopic, little more than reduced reproductive bodies, and they live by the dozens, sometimes hundreds, inside the body of a single female. An entire harem hidden in one worm. And Osedax isn't some rare freak. There are species of it across every ocean, and they don't only eat whales, they'll strip the bones of fish too. A whale skeleton is exceptionally rich in fats. Sometimes more than half its dry weight is lipid. Deep inside, where there's no oxygen, sulfate-reducing bacteria break that fat down and generate hydrogen sulfide. It smells like rotten eggs. To most living things, it's lethal poison, but not to everything. Another kind of bacteria treats hydrogen sulfide the way plants treat sunlight, using it to make food. It's called chemosynthesis, life built not on light, but on chemistry. And around it, a garden blooms in the black. Thick mats of white and yellow bacteria spread across the bones. Clams and mussels move in, their gills packed with those same chemical-eating bacteria. Limpets, snails, worms, a dense living crust sustained by poison. If that sounds familiar, it should. Many of the same kinds of organisms found at hydrothermal vents and cold seeps also thrive here. A whale skeleton becomes a vent that runs on a corpse. And this is the marathon stage. On a big enough whale, in cold enough water, it can last decades. Add it up and the numbers are staggering. A single whale fall can host more than 200 species, and some of them have never been found anywhere else on the planet. They appear to be whale fall specialists, living nowhere but the bones of the dead. In pure carbon, one large carcass drops as much food onto the seafloor as roughly 2,000 years of ordinary marine snow, all at once. A whale that took decades to grow can feed the deep for just as long. But here's the idea that changes how you see the entire ocean floor. Vents and seeps are rare, scattered oases separated by endless deserts of mud. So how does life cross those distances from one to the next? One answer: whale falls. Scientists think these skeletons may act as stepping stones, temporary islands of chemical energy scattered across the dark, letting the specialists of the deep hop from one grave to the next, generation after generation. Right now, there may be hundreds of thousands of whale skeletons on the seafloor, quietly helping to keep the deep sea stitched together. A single death doesn't just build one city, it may help hold an entire hidden world together, which leads somewhere darker. For 2 centuries, we hunted the great whales to the brink, killing, by some estimates, close to 3 million of them. We didn't only take whales out of the ocean, we took their deaths off the seafloor. Millions of whale falls that never happened. Millions of cities never built. We may have starved deep-sea species into extinction that we never even discovered. Creatures that lived only on falling whales, gone in the dark, unseen, unrecorded. And as some whale populations slowly recover, The falls are returning, and with them, worlds we're only beginning to find. So when we call it a whale fall, we've got it backwards. Nothing here is really falling. In the coldest, darkest, most crushing place on Earth, the last place you'd expect it, something dies, and life pours in to answer. The whale becomes an island, a feeding ground, a nursery, a stepping stone, a city that thrives for decades on the memory of a single life, and it will still be alive, still feeding, still building, long after the whale itself has vanished into the seabed.